think is so interesting when you talk of one of the things that you talk about in your mystical guide to home inspection, and this is Rinoli's book. It is going to be retitled because this book is so comprehensive. It's, you know, as I was flipping through Rinoli, it's not just about home inspection. It's more like a homeowner's guide. I know that there's safety tips in here and ecologically responsible points where we can save money and be conscious and save money at the same time. It's very, very comprehensive. But one of the things that I was so fascinated by in here is how you are using color to buy and sell homes. And based upon today's market, I don't know how many people are out there having multiple mortgages or whatever, and they want to sell their property in order to move on to the next phase of their life. Can you share with us how people can help sell their house using this energy work that you do?
Sure. I mean, foundationally, it starts with a home inspection, and that's partly the reason for the title. I think a well-maintained house is necessary, energetically, as well as if you're getting ready to sell it, or for any reason. Because if the home is healthy, if the home is well-maintained, that's your foundation. Everything gets built upon it. If you have a good foundation, you have a good structure.
That makes sense.
So when I think about the home, I want to make sure that it is well-maintained. So I teach you how to hire a home inspector, all the questions to ask, the realities of it, what do you do when you get the report. But it's also, if you're living in the house, you need a maintenance inspection. And then after that, it's like, what do you start to do? Because it's layer by layer of energetics. If my foundation is now a well-maintained house, I want to start thinking about the energetics of it. I want to clear out what's there, because every time we have a thought, every time we have an emotion, there's an electrical signal. We can measure it with Kirlian photography, biofeedback techniques. We know it's there.
Learn more about that, everybody. That's really cool stuff.
You know, and it becomes like its own collective consciousness, and I'm either going to have that consciousness working on my behalf, supporting me, or it's going to be working against me.
And that's just on the most basic levels. Isn't that like you think that you want to sell, but you're really holding on to it for some reason? It's like, even though you think that you want to sell, you haven't really made that conscious decision in your head to say, yes, I really welcome the new buyer, and I really don't want to live here anymore, but with love, we want to bring the new buyer in.
And that's the hardest piece. You know, as a real estate consultant, when I work with realtors or people, whether it's over the telephone or in person, the first thing we have to do is make sure everybody associated with the property has released the property. And 9 times out of 10, that's the piece that prevents the property from selling. Here's the fun piece, though. You may be living in the property and go, yeah, I'm ready to get out of here and go on to the next place, but your next door neighbor may not have released you. Or if you leave
what if you have a mother that won't release you? Do you have tips that can help our mothers release us?
I do.
You sure?
I will. This is a therapy exercise, and it was something that I learned as I was developing my PhD in spiritual counseling. And what you do is you imagine that you have an empty chair, and you put your mother energetically in that chair. Now,
this is huge.
This is, you can use it with your teenage child, your coworker, anybody that you have issue with, and you can't come face to face and talk.
That you don't think, and you think that that's the reason why your property isn't selling, because somebody else is holding you back. Not that they're doing it intentionally, but they're doing it unconsciously because they just don't want to see you go.
And the other, and it's also really useful if you're having problems with your coworker, you can't talk to your teenage child and get them to, you know, clean up their room, or you're not communicating. This exercise can be used for so many things. So if you're having issues with your spouse or your beloved, and you're going like this, and you need to communicate, but you can't talk face to face, put them in the chair. You're going to be having a conversation from your higher self, from that higher place that bypasses the ego. And you're going to be able to talk in a clean way without all the judgments and all the emotion. And it's an exercise that you're going to have to learn to trust, because what you're doing is you're connecting to them at that soul level, at that energetic level, that's going to bypass everything that gets in the way from having that equal, honest exchange. And so sometimes what happens is you hear things come back to you when you ask a question. So you have to begin to trust that that conversation you're having in your mind is really something you're having with them. So, you know, I've got a client and I'm working with him, and I can't understand why it is the next door neighbor, I'm not going to work with the mother because we're not here for that kind of therapy. We're not going to work with the next door neighbor. But why the next door neighbor won't release them so that the house will sell? Well, you know, I've got I'm going to call her Mary, sitting in the chair there, and I'm going to be in my head or out loud, depends on if anybody's around, and I'm going to go, Mary, why is it you don't want to see, Jami move? And she might go, because I really love the beauty that she's created in the home, and I'm afraid somebody that comes in after her is going to take away from that beauty. I really enjoy it. So what do you say to that? Well, what would you say to Mary if you could talk to her? It's like, oh, Mary, maybe we can have somebody come in who's going to keep the house beautifully. Maybe we'll just attract the buyer who thinks along the same lines.
And it might be different, but it will still have the same love and intention, and they care, and a nice neighbor will come in.
Yeah, so that's one way that
would that be okay, Mary? Is that how you would do it?
The same way you would have a conversation if you were sitting here, with a cup of coffee going, all right, so why won't you let me sell the house? It'd be lovely if we could have that conversation in real life.
It really would be.
Because we get our fears and our judgments and our insecurities, it gets in the way. But when you put somebody in a chair and you're talking, and you've got to be comfortable with saying things in your head or hearing things, and give them a chance to respond back when you ask a question. Sometimes I just have to go, all right, who's holding on to the house? And I'll get, well, little Susie, who's the 3-year-old in the house, buried the turtle out back. Well, I have to try to talk to little Susie. Now, certainly I'm going to talk to little Susie about her turtle differently than I would the next door neighbor, or, any of them.
Through love.
Yeah, but you're going to talk to them and you're going to listen to what they have to say.
And you talk to them in the language they're understanding. And you said a piece that was really important is, even because they are not responding to you in a physical form and they're responding to you energetically, you need to hear what they're saying energetically and trust that energy, and then follow their instruction. Follow their instruction. Yes,
get your resolution.
Exactly. Be complete, and then
trust it.
And trust it.
Because then what you have is you have the agreement of two people on a certain level that this is going to be okay now, and you have to act as if it's so.
And then, won't you do a chi clearing in the house?
Ah, yes, of course I will. But that's the first thing you have to do, is find out who's holding on. And then I want to clear out the energy. Kind of like if you think of your home as a computer, we now want to do a clean install and do a system upgrade. We want to put a new operating program in place that's going to draw the buyers to the house.
Cool. Would you show us how to do that?
I certainly will.
We need to set up, don't we?
We do. I've got props.
Let's set up.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be right back.